Good
evening. I'm Ronald McFadden, the Chair of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners, and we welcome you to the October 8th Public Board Meeting of the Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners. If you have not done so, please mute your phone. Anyone who does not mute their phone may be muted by the call moderator or removed from the call. Additionally, if you are not a board member or the CEO and her staff, please turn your video off. I will now read a roll call of the board to identify who is on the call. Please identify yourself first before speaking for the record. Vice Chair Roberts.
Vice Chair Roberts, present.
IT, do we have Teams up as well?
Chair McFadden, can you hear me?
Yes, switching the screen.
Chair McFadden, can you hear me?
Commissioner Ames Messenger.
Ames Messenger present.
Thank you. Commissioner Coy.
Commissioner Coy, present.
Commissioner Esposito.
Commissioner Esposito present.
Thank you. Commissioner Kenyatta Bay.
Kenyatta Bay, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Mohammed.
Mohammed, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Parker. Commissioner Dr. Redding Lallinger.
Redding Lallinger, present.
Thank you. Commissioner Rooks.
Commissioner Rooks, present.
Commissioner Sally. Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Commissioner Slater Harrington, present.
Thank you. I'm also present. That is 9 present with 3 absent. Is there a motion to reopen the meeting?
Ames Messenger, so moved.
Yeah.
Thank you. I want to also make sure that the vice chair is saying that she's having just trouble with the microphone. Are you able to unmute?
Can you hear me, Chair McFadden?
Yes, we can hear you.
So I
Thank you.
I was present for roll call, but it wasn't working.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that there are 10 commissioners present with 2 absent. And I will restate the motion, the question. Is there a motion to reopen the meeting?
So moved, Kenyatta Bay.
I'll take that as a motion and a second by Commissioner Ames Messenger. Is there any unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor, Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Redding Lallinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Sally, Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm also in favor. That is 10 in favor with 2 absent. The motion passes. Will you please join me in standing for the presentation of colors by the Forest Park Senior High School Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps?
Hold on. Hold. Wait. Read that. Oh. Sir, Forest Park, Senior High School, Army, Sheriff DC, requesting permission to post colors. Sir.
Motion granted.
Thank you, sir. Order. Up. Colors, Bert. One. Color guard. Pull. 2 steps to the rear. Mark. Reset. Up. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. Order up! Post. What?
Thank you. That was the JROTC from Forest Park from Forest Park High School. We had Cadet Lieutenant Colonel David Burris, Cadet Command Sergeant Major Samira Nesbitt, Cadet Major Maciel Morale, Cadet Captain Jeremiah Johnson, Cadet Second Lieutenant Khalil Price. We also had the Digital Harbor High School Digital Harbors Ram Chorale under the direction of Mr. Swinton. We had Anaya Brandon, Kimberly Torres, Dylan Gordon, Tristan Scott, Caleb Guest, LaKayla Brunson, Davon Gross, Deshaun Robinson, Nehemiah Guvera, Desmond Truesdale, Miracle Davis, Joe Cherry, Cesar Morgan Rodriguez, Kyrie McCoy, Amon Washington, Tydrian Brooks, Zoe Snyder, David Rucker, and Gabriel Robertson. Can we give these performers and our students a round of applause? Is there a motion to approve the prior open session summaries?
Motion, Commissioner Rooks.
Thank you, Commissioner Rooks. Is there a second?
Second Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Any unreadiness? Hearing none, all in favor, Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Redding Lallinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with the members who are present. Is there a motion to approve the closed session summaries?
So moved. Ames Messenger.
Thank you, Commissioner Ames Messenger. Is there a second?
Second Esposito.
Thank you. Any unready? Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Redding Lallinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks.
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with the members who are present. So good evening again, and thank you all for joining us tonight, those of you who are present in person and those of you who are joining us virtually. We are almost at the end of quarter one, at the end of the marking period, the first marking period for city schools, and we are happy to see our students and our staff and our families moving with optimism and mindfulness. We want to shout out the hardworking and determined educators, administrative staff, our paraprofessionals and paraeducators. This is Paraprofessional and Paraeducators Weekend. We give them a round of applause. And all of our stakeholders in between, your contributions have been nothing short of exceptional. Many of you for city schools. As we work to finish this quarter strong, we want to highlight a few ways the public can get involved in some of the district's efforts. First, October is National Bullying Prevention Month. To spread awareness and to show support, City Schools and the Cook Center, in collaboration with parentguidance.org, hosted a coaching session on October 7th for parents on bullying strategies that can help their children build courage and self-advocacy, as well as identify early signs of bullying. For more information on future coaching sessions and other parental support this month, please visit the City Schools website. City Schools has also begun planning for the 2025-2026 school budget, and we want your input. The district has a host of feedback sessions for parents, students, and staff. You say we just started the school year, but we're planning the budget for next year. Absolutely, we are completely underway with this current budget cycle. So during this time, you'll have a chance to share your thoughts on how we spend money for student wholeness, academics, literacy, math, leadership, equity, all the things that are important to City Schools and to Baltimore City for our children. As you know, the district no longer receives ESSER federal funding that was provided to us due to the pandemic. Because of this, the board has to make tougher financial decisions. Please help us ensure that we are prioritizing funds in areas that directly support our students. We highly encourage you to visit the City Schools website for details about the budget reset, and stay tuned for more details on school budget feedback sessions. Lastly, the board wants to hear your feedback on board policy JFBB and the general order body-worn cameras. Policy JFBB focuses on students in state supervised care, and the general order body-worn cameras focuses on our school police utilizing body cameras throughout the district. Both policies are currently under review, and we want to hear all of our stakeholders' thoughts before the board finalizes those two, should the board finalize those two particular policies in the general order. To submit feedback, visit the board policies webpage on the City Schools website, open the form, select a policy, type in your feedback and contact information, and submit. Submissions will be reviewed by district personnel and other subject matter experts. Is there a motion to approve the personnel, employment, and payroll agenda in addition to the quasi-judicial matter?
So moved, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Is there a second?
Second, Slater
Second.
Harrington.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. Is there any unreadiness? All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Muhammad,
Yes.
Dr. Redding Lallinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes with 9 in favor and 2 absent. We'll now turn it over to Dr. Santelises for CEO comments.
Great, thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. We're going to begin with this evening's PEP agenda. Oh, Jerome Jones will be bringing this evening's PEP agenda. Executive Director of, thank you, Labor Relations and Negotiations. Part of why I stumble on that is because Mr. Jones is that and so much more. So, thank you.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to read the PEP agenda today from the Office of Chief Academic Officer. Recommended that Greta Cephas, currently the interim principal, George Washington Elementary, be reassigned as a coordinator, summer and extended learning services and supports, special education and support and student support services. And the Office of Chief Operating Officers is appointment recommended that Scott Washington, formerly Chief Operating Officer, Howard County Public Schools, be appointed Executive Director, Facilities. And finally, from the Office of Chief of Schools, reassignment, Terry Scroggins, currently Assistant Principal, the historic Cherry Hill Elementary Middle School, will be reassigned as Assistant Principal, the Stadium School, all effective October 9th. And that's it for the PEP agenda tonight.
Great. Thank you very much, Executive Director Jones. This evening, I am incredibly pleased to announce that both the board chair and I this past Friday had the pleasure of being present in person to hear the announcement that our very own City Schools Teacher of the Year, Kat Locke Jones of Hampstead Hill, was named the Maryland State Teacher of the Year. And Ms. Lojo, as I have been, tutored in understanding her name is the 5th City Schools teacher to be honored as the State Teacher of the Year in the past 10 years, and more than any other district in the state of Maryland. And in another little factoid, again, so when you're at your family barbecues, when people are asking why you teach in city schools, you lead in city schools, you might also want to let them know that our district's Teachers of the Year have been finalists for Maryland Teacher of the Year 9 years out of the last 10. So when people ask you why you are in city schools, let them know because you associate with the best teachers in the state of Maryland. I would like to now invite Ms. Locke Jones and Hampstead Hill Principal Matt Hornbeck to come forward and be recognized for this wonderful achievement. Laura Doherty, would you like to also join them? You may come up as well. No, okay, you're going to bask in the glow. For those who don't know, Laura Doherty are you officially executive director, president? What are you? President, thank you. I just like to get people's titles right. President oh Lord, I'm about to say the name of the school again. The operator of, oh God. Oh, Baltimore Curriculum Project. See, what a lovely prompt. It's that DI. I need that. All right, so we're going to invite all three of you to please come up. As they come up, we're going to ask, Kat and Matt to have brief statements. You can sit right there. And a couple of things, though, I would like to point out that I'm sure they will point out, but that I think is important for folks to note. While I was interviewing Kat as one of the finalists for City Schools Teacher of the Year, her passion for mental health is personal, it's immediate, and it is an everyday passion of hers. Part of what also strikes me is that her love for her young people, the young people she teaches, her colleagues, is palpable, and she embodies the idea and the goal that you can care about young people's social emotional well-being, you can be a good colleague, and you can still yield excellent results for young people. And what I know her principal is going to be mad that I'm stealing some of his thunder, but we can say it 2 or 3 times. You should know that Kat Locke Jones had the 3rd highest 7th grade performance rates out of the entire state of Maryland. So you should know, not just for Baltimore City, but the entire state of Maryland, you should know that over a quarter of her 7th graders scored at the most advanced level on the state MCAP. And I think a capper to all of this is that with her 7th graders, she has just about reduced any achievement gap between students of color and white students. There is no achievement gap when you go through Kat Locke Jones's ELA class. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Teacher of the Year, who, by the way, has an amazing husband who is also a city schools teacher, and they're expecting their 4th child. So I was very privileged to be with them and him, but I'm going to turn it over to her now, and then we'll invite Principal Hornbeck and President Doherty to also have words.
Thank you so much. That was unbelievably kind. I said this on Friday, but Baltimore City Public Schools is my first school district I've ever taught at. I came here when I was 21 years old, and it is my forever school district. Baltimore City Public Schools has given me my family, not just my literal family, though has. My husband is a city schools teacher, but also my school family at Hampstead Hill Academy. I get to teach with the best teachers. And that's what makes the magic so wonderful. It is a honor to be the Maryland Teacher of the Year, but the best title I will ever hold is being called Miss Lojo by 105 seventh graders. And when you teach middle school students, you get a lot of stories. You hear a lot of sounds, a lot of sigmas, a lot of bras. But walking through the hallways and seeing a fifth grader say, "Hey, did you teach my older sister Juliet?" Or or exactly, or having a student come and tell their story of self is the greatest honor that I'll have. So I'm forever honored to get to represent Baltimore City and to listen to our students' stories. Thank you.
So I've worked with Kat for many years, and she's always been thinking about the lives of her students first, and a huge data nerd second, and an amazing colleague, I should say, second. She's part of the glue that holds the middle school together. Our middle school is in the 97th percentile in the state. And just to highlight, Lojo has a way of teaching people how to write, which is such a synthesis. Human beings learning to write is so complicated and such a synthesis of all of the key skills that we hope everyone can have. And Kat is amazing at doing that. She has an early morning writing tutoring program called The Hive. And from very early in the morning until very late at night, she's working to make sure that kids can communicate in writing, which is just a lifelong skill that she hones. And as you know, a lot of the math test is writing. And so we benefit in math from Kat's work. One other data point, two other data points for all the data nerds here. That 25% of earning the highest level distinguished is the #1 school in the state. So she's third overall, but #1 in fours. And out of the 315 students that Kat has taught in the last 3 years, and she teaches every single seventh grader, not just the higher kids or some subgroup, but every single seventh grader at a neighborhood school. Out of the 315 kids, 3, less than 1%, have scored a 1 on the state test. So 312 kids got a 2, 3, or 4. And that is just a testament to the precision and the passion and the commitment that Kat brings to her work and raises the bar for all of us. I always say that we've got about 65 teachers of record at Hampstead Hill, and 45 of us are support, including myself and Laura. And to be able to support Kat in doing the work that she does has just been an honor, and I'm so proud to be the principal of the Maryland Teacher of the Year.
Well, I remember when you first started at Hampstead Hill, a few months in, Principal Hornbeck said, I think she's kind of brilliant. And I said, oh, sure, okay. And then the years went by and it became clear, yes, she's very brilliant and she's really nice and she's totally dedicated. And we are just so grateful that you have turned your massive talents to Baltimore City. Thank you.
So I would just ask, we do have a certificate for you, but we would love, we know that both the chair and I got lots of pictures with you on Friday night, but we would love it if you would take a picture with the entire board, because we are very proud of the fact that Baltimore City once again has the Maryland State Teacher of the Year. Wonderful. Come on up. And before we leave this topic, I don't see her. I was hoping she might come in. But I do also want to recognize the work and the intentionality and the dedication of Sharonda Ely. Sharonda Ely is our lead for Baltimore City Public Schools Teacher of the Year process. This is not just putting names in a hat and picking one. This requires someone who is on the ground. There are classroom observations, and there is a preparation and a readying of the pipeline. And you can have talent in many different places, but if you don't have someone like Sharonda, who has the vision for finding the excellence in city schools, you don't get to 9 out of 10 years of State Teacher of the Year finalists. So I want to give a shout out. I'm sure there's enough of her home folks listening tonight. So we will make sure she gets to hear this. I will say it. I said it to her Friday night. I will say it again. But I think it's important to publicly acknowledge that Sharonda Ely has really taken this vision, and it's why we can be proud as a school district of the tradition that Catwalk Jones represents. So thank you, Sharonda. Moving on, October is National Principals Month. And this is where, give a shout out. This is where we celebrate our leaders across the district. I say frequently that I know as being an educator now, probably for the last, 30 plus years, God, that's scary to say that, that one thing has not changed. And the one thing that has not changed in all that time is that the role of the principal is the pivot point around which school and district improvement circles. You cannot have increased student achievement. You cannot have whole children, whole students. You cannot have productive team members of teachers who want to work together unless you have the school leader. This is backed up by research. This is backed up by best practice. And so I want to thank every school leader in Baltimore City for the work that you do every day. You take my push, you take the push of families, and you still come out loving our young people, helping to make our schools better, and being willing to be on the front line to make sure that every young person in Baltimore City gets the education that they deserve. So happy Principal Celebration Month. This is one of those things where I'm sure we could do it once a month and it still would not be enough, but take our thank you from both the board, from me, and know happy Principal Month to every school leader in city schools. This week, we are also celebrating the contributions of our paraprofessional and school-related personnel team. As the chair just announced, look at that, see, and we got folks shouting, that's what we need. That's what we need, President Brown, yes. They're working in school offices, the district office, and classrooms. Our PSRPs perform critically important functions. Everything from secretaries, bus drivers, food service workers, school bus aides, maintenance workers, custodians, all of those roles that it's easy to overlook unless you've actually ever been in a school. And you know that those functions are absolutely critical. So I want to thank all members of our PSRP team. We thank you for the work that you do for our young people and the work that you do that often goes unseen, but know that it does not go unappreciated. Happy PSRP week to everybody in city schools. I would also, as we are in the midst of a political season, we are coming up to what promises to be and has been at times a contentious national election. This is a time that as CEO, I just want to remind all of us about our commitment as a district to the importance of free speech and the respect for the opinions of others. Baltimore City Public Schools is committed to ensuring all students, staff, and families feel welcome, seen, and heard. This standard includes honoring the right to free speech and open expression. By establishing these environments, we can encourage meaningful conversations about important issues that nurture respect, empathy, and critical thinking, even when we may disagree. As adults, we are responsible for modeling and supporting appropriate civil discourse for our young people. We are not telling them how to think or how to vote. We are telling them that there is a way to engage that is fundamental to our democracy. We respect the right of individuals to hold passionate positions on community issues. It is our task to create safe spaces where all students feel empowered to share their thoughts and engage respectfully with those who have differing viewpoints. This rich exchange of ideas broadens perspectives and cultivates a sense of belonging and community within our schools. Simultaneously, it is essential that we continue to protect the rights of others. Our non-discrimination policy states that employees and students may not engage in speech and activities that infringe on the rights of others. Hate speech, discrimination, personal attacks, or other forms of harassment or dehumanizing behavior will not be tolerated. Our guidelines for staff participation in political activities and the prohibition against harassment reinforce those rules. We also encourage you to read our family guide and employee handbook, both of which set guidelines for civility and respect for all. We want our students to learn about the world and become engaged as active citizens. Their voices and values matter, and they deserve to be heard. But at the same time, it is essential to remember that we must respect and honor the rights of others. And then finally for this evening, I will just say a personal thank you, not only to the board and cabinet, but literally to people across the district from whom I have received, from every role imaginable, condolences for the passing of my father. I have seen them all, whether they're emails or texts or even emojis. I appreciate that, the gifts my family does as well. And the City Schools family has been very, very good to us as we are experiencing the transition of my dad. Many of you met him. I still have a picture from when he visited the board meeting, and he still, up until the end, talked about how great it was to be in Baltimore City and what an amazing team we have in City Schools in what he always considered an amazing American city. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Board Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Santelises. We'll now review the consent agenda. Board colleagues, let me know if there are items that you'd like removed, and please state your rationale for staff or your question. Item 9.01, naming of Hampstead Hill Academy Gymnasium. Item 9.02, non-discrimination policies. Second reader. Item 12.01, Youth Works Program. Item 12.02, Private Duty and School Health Nursing Services. Item 12.03, Speech, Language, Pathology, Audiology, and Music Therapy Services. Item 15.01, Detweiler Roofing, LLC. Item 15.02, Fire Alarm Installation, Inspection, Repair, and Preventative Maintenance. Item 15.03, Fire and Water Cleanup and Restoration Services. Item 15.04, I.G. Burton and Company Incorporated.
I'd like to pull that one. I
Okay,
have a couple questions.
okay, state your questions, Dr. Redding Lallinger.
I would like to request an update on the electric bus pilot as it relates to any procurement items for transportation.
Thank you. Item 18.01, Ice Miller, LLP. Thank you. So we're pulling item 15.04 for questions, and hopefully staff heard what Dr. Redding Lallinger is asking about. We'll now move into public comment. First, we have speakers from our recognized groups who will have 5 minutes. Representing the Baltimore Teachers Union, we have Keisha Goodwin. Good evening, Ms. Goodwin. And Ms. Goodwin, 1 second. I just want to make sure that, to be fair, there used to be a timer that we placed on the screens. Are we able to do that? Yes, no? Working on it?
Yes, we have a time. 5 minutes.
Thank
You guys disappeared.
Chair McFadden,
you. Let's pause it. Are you able to hear us?
I cannot hear the public comment.
Okay, so we cannot, the people on Teams are unable to hear. Thank you. Can we restart that, Ms. Goodwin? Thank you.
Good evening, CEO, Chair, and School Board Commissioners. I am Keisha Goodwin, a part of the BTU's PSRP member engagement team. I hope your academic year is off to a rewarding start. Before I begin, I would like to shout out the cornerstone of our union and the school system, our PSRPs, paraprofessional, and school-related personnel. Happy PSRP week. Yes. I hope the district encourages work sites such as North Avenue leaders, the bus lot leaders, and school directors and principals to recognize and celebrate PSRPs at their work sites. Also, I want to recognize the district for its new constructions, renovated bathrooms, and replacing some of our ineffective principals. It has made a difference in the climate in our schools. This evening, I am following up on my previous comments. I want to remind us that both BTU and BCPSS work to improve student academics. While the employer seeks to get the biggest bang for the buck, BTU aims to eliminate exploitation and violation of our members' rights because we deeply understand healthy working conditions are healthy learning conditions, which includes operation and systems. This district does not have a true PSRP to teacher program. and it continues to value potential PSRP candidates with a bachelor's degree to become a teacher by promoting programs with the same focus such as SEED. We have other members who are earning their AA degree or earning their bachelor's degree that need support too. On September 22nd of 2022, I spoke to this, and here we are 2 years later with little to no progress. However, the blueprint for Maryland requires that pre-K paraeducators either have an associate degree or a CDA by academic year 27-28 if they do not have 5 years experience by then. So why isn't there more partnership, mentoring, or staff support from North Avenue for our PSRPs earning their AA degree or bachelor's degree? We have also incorporated compensation for our PSRPs who are earning additional academics, which we know renders support for our students. And yet the district has rejected this proposal in negotiations. On September 26, 2023, I spoke about temporary employees becoming permanent employees. According to the district's meaning, a temporary employee is meant for 90 days or fewer and is intended to meet short-term operational and instructional support needs. Yet there are many temporary employees that have surpassed the 90-day limit. When these employees refer to the temporary employee policy, they are looked at as troublemakers. Conversely, this district has hired new employees to those permanent positions before making a temp employee permanent, which is serving in that same position. And you can look at some charter schools for this information as well. On February 13th of 2024, I presented on the exploitation of multilingual PSRPs. With that said, all teachers, whether they are English teacher or foreign language teacher, have the same minimum and maximum salary. However, foreign language teachers could receive monetary compensation if asked to interpret or translate. PSRPs who are asked to perform similar services should be compensated too. And again, in negotiations, the district has rejected this in a compensation proposal. Priority 7 states that city schools will continuously work toward equity at all levels by implementing policies, practices, and procedures that create a welcoming and inclusive academic and professional environment. This priority makes sense, but it is not happening on the ground and in the trenches. And when it does, it only serves certain groups. Some people are waiting until they retire or no longer need this district to speak up in public sectors, i.e. Fox 45. Our PSRPs are not peons nor cogs in a wheel. Therefore, respect and honor their labor time in essence by recognizing and celebrating them. This board has the power to improve each issue I detailed tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Goodwin. We now have representing the Parent Teacher Association Council, Baltimore City, Ms. Debbie Demery, the president. Good evening, Debbie.
So good evening, everyone. PTA remains an option to engage families in the community in Baltimore City. For the last few weeks, I've had several conversations with schools interested in PTA. When I finish my presentation, their response is, "That's not what we were told." So tonight, I will try to clear up the communication so there will be no room for misunderstanding or alteration of the message. So question number 1, what is the difference between PTA and PTO? The mission of PTA is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate on behalf of all children. A PTO is focused exclusively on issues at their school. They are not part of a larger organized network and have no way to impact decisions beyond their own school. PTA believes that issues affect our children today extend beyond their individual school. So my last presentation mentioned the gun safety legislation National PTA is focused on. Question number 2, do I have to have a child in school to be a part of a PTA? You do not have to have a child in school to join PTA. You can join any PTA unit anywhere in the city, state, and the country. For those who have children in different schools, or you may be a community member or be a business owner in that community looking to provide support, you are also welcome. Statement number 1. I heard PTA costs a lot of money. Each local unit will become a 501c3 nonprofit. The cost of incorporation is $170 plus $50 to expedite the process with the Department of Assessments and Taxation. The incorporation cost for a new unit will be paid by the state entity, which is Free State PTA. Once incorporated, a unit needs to adhere to state and federal report filing deadlines. Each unit must purchase insurance from the recognized PTA carrier each year. Free State will pay for the insurance of a new unit for the first year. Statement number 2, PTA cannot charge you. PTA is a member-driven organization. You must have a minimum of 10 members to become PTA. Members pay dues to participate in the business of PTA, such as amending bylaws, electing officers, reviewing the unit budget. The amount of dues is decided by each local unit. Each unit is required to remit $4.25 per member to Free State PTA, who sends $2.25 to National PTA. The local councils can charge per member or a flat fee. As the local council in Baltimore City, we are charged to provide resources and support. We ask for a flat fee of $25 per year. Councils do not receive funding from the state or national PTA. So a lot of the things that we do is out-of-pocket costs. I hope this helps to alleviate confusion. If anyone needs any more information, or if you need me to come speak to somebody else, please email us at president.ptacbc@gmail.com. Thank you very much. Oh, you want to clap? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank
You very much. We'll now have the Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee, CCAT. Representing them this evening is their chair, Ms. Sheila Billups. Good evening, Ms. Billups.
I didn't think I was going to make it. Good evening, everyone, both virtual, in person. The greatest CEO in the world, Dr. Santelises, Chair and Vice Chair, and all members. I come this evening I'm very excited, first of all, to be here to discuss the Special Education Resource Fair that's going to be held at William S. Baird School, 2001, Warwick Avenue, on October the 19th. We're going to have a guest speaker from Coppin State, Dr. Nicole Anthony. We're going to have panel discussions. We have information about IEPs and showing parents how to navigate that process, wellness activity, life refreshments. Also, we're going to have a Spanish interpreter for those who need one. We have American Sign Language that's going to be there as well. It's going to be a wonderful event. I encourage everyone here to take a part in it, including the commissioners. Also, I'm giving an update on our meeting October the 14th. Will be held on the 3rd floor, room 301. The rest of the year, our meetings will be held upstairs every second Monday of the month. Our Family Engagement Community Office will be presenting Ms. Tina Hike-Hubbard. We have the Parent Community Advisory Board. A lot of people might not know about that we call it PCAP. Jason Green will be speaking for them. I'm asking you all to come out and hear what this information they're going to give you that's going to help push us together and make us more knitted together, that we supply services for the children not only receiving special education, but comprehensive school. And last but not least, our Parent Teachers Association, Ms. Deborah Demery will be there. We're going to discuss the possibilities of having our own special ed PTA. And we're looking forward to starting that. We're looking for members to join that. All of y'all, come on, be a part. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Phillips. Now I'll turn it over to the board executive for the rest of public comment.
Thank you, Chair. Our first public comment is from Diana Deseracto. And the agenda topic is international teacher recruitment, retention, and teacher shortage. This will be a video.
Good evening. I am Diana. I'm a speech language pathologist for the district, and I'll be speaking about international educator recruitment and retainment. On behalf of the International Committee, happy Filipino American Heritage Month. Here we go again, another year of listening to international educators' stories as they try to navigate through this district's sloppy and disorganized hiring process. Why are we continuing to recruit more and more international educators when there are ongoing issues yet to be fixed? Last week, our committee invited the new educators to a meet and greet, and again, we heard the same complaints from our new international educators. The recruiting process has been messy for years and has been a huge financial burden to our international educators. Thousands of dollars that these corrupt agencies charge for our educators to even get here, and the random fees they pay throughout the school year is horrendous. We need to stop using these agencies. We were told educators were stranded at the airport, had limited choices on where to live. Some who do not own cars are split between multiple schools and have to use their own money for Uber and Lyft every day. ELD educators have no curriculum. Some have not received their NESI pay and on the incorrect pay scale. Educators have no access to the ERP and have no idea how to navigate these websites. The list goes on and on. Where has the $1.4 million procurement money gone to? Please consider this money to assist all of our educators with visa fees, placement, recruitment, orientation fees, and an immigration lawyer to help with their citizenship and legal issues. Thank you for providing professional development. However, the registrations were closed within days. How are you providing support when you can't even allow our educators to register? The International Committee has asked you to provide more PDs. We know that you're recruiting special educators and ESOL teachers by offering H-1B visas. This is a great idea. However, we ask that you offer H-1Bs to all international educators, as those with J-1 visas have no path to citizenship and are not receiving any guidance on what to do after. Most are just leaving this district. So how is this helping with retainment? As I've said before, it's egregious how our school district continues to hurt the international educators over and over again. This is not how to retain our most dedicated and committed international educators who want to be here. We hope you continue working with the BTU International Committee and find ways to make our international educators feel safe, appreciated, and welcome to the USA, but especially in our Baltimore community. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public comment is from Kim Knox. The agenda topic is Educational Interest, Secondary Virtual Learning School, and this is an email to be read. Good evening, BCPSS Board of Commissioners. Are you feeling brave today? Are you brave? Do you intend to be brave? The Secondary Virtual Learning School, SVLS, recently announced its new name, Baltimore Revolutionary Academy for Virtual Education, BRAVE. Now this 6-month process is over. Can we start the real conversation? Are we brave enough to be revolutionary? Already pioneers in forging the path for virtual education in public schools, school community members, stakeholders continue to reject the status quo in our quest for high-quality, holistic education experience for our primary and secondary scholars. This merger has somehow knocked us back some milestones as school administrators tout and implement a vision that was formed with no input from students, parents, or other community members. You're already aware that parents and students are actively bucking stakeholder suppression as talks of homeschooling reemerge amongst disenchanted families. I urge the district and school leaders to be bold and embrace innovation in repairing this harm. As we approach the community's first SFCC meeting on October 15th, my experience and observations as a parent, coupled with my perspective as a business and people operations professional, has me concerned about other key partners in the community, educators and staff. In the absence of direct knowledge of how teachers and staff are faring as they navigate this transition, I will use the space to make my expectation as a parent and taxpaying community stakeholder clear. No member of this community should fear retribution for not towing the line. My scholar requires staff and educators that can show up as their full selves. If the current environment does not support district employees in being active contributors and participants in this community, please, district staff, administrators, BTU, and any other responsible body, take corrective measures immediately as I continue to defy the oppressive actions taken against me in making this public comment. The whack-a-mole approach is ineffective. Suppression is not being tolerated. Status quo has been rejected. Ignoring has not made it go away. Harm has and continues to be done in this community. We need a new trajectory. Having pledged to implement restorative practices and daily workings of all of its schools and programs, we need it put to action now in our community. Be brave, organize, and engage in a restorative circle process for this full virtual school community to occur this month. Thank you. And that is the last of our public comments.
Thank you very much. We are not pulling the item that I mentioned, item 15.04. That is going back onto consent. So thank you to the team who may have prepared, but we're going to move with that on the consent agenda. Going to move to item 8.01, our student commissioner's remarks. Commissioner Rooks.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, everyone. So that time of the year has come. I will start visiting schools starting this Friday, Friday the 11th, 2024. And then I will be going to my first general SGA assembly as the student commissioner with Chair McFadden. If any schools are here or online with CLN 10, please reach out to me or Miss Tracy that's in the back. I would love to come visit with you and your SGA to talk more about you and engage. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rooks. Definitely looking forward to next week with ASCBC. And you know, both of us are also sharing CLN 10 this year, so we're really excited about the work that we'll observe and be able to partner with our schools in CLN 10 this year. Thank you, Tracy Carter. Just a shout out to Tracy Carter, CLN 10. We'll now move into, we had one committee that met since our last meeting. We had two committees that met, but one that has a report this evening. The Teaching and Learning Committee will met, and we do have a report from the chair of the Teaching and Learning Committee. Commissioner Seda Harrington.
Good evening, Chair. The Teaching and Learning Committee met on October 1st at 3:30 p.m. Attendees included Chair McFadden, myself, Commissioner Kenyatta Bay, Commissioner Redding Lallinger, and Commissioner Rooks. The committee received a comprehensive presentation on the district's induction and professional learning programs. Key highlights included the district's vision and goals for professional learning, emphasizing the importance of building educator capacity, supporting continuous improvement, and aligning efforts with district priorities. There was a specific focus on supporting early career teachers and fostering data-driven practices. The district is shifting from a traditional model of professional development, previously characterized as episodes of learning or discrete opportunities to learn, and moving toward an approach centered on arcs of learning. This new model promotes deeper and sustained engagement in areas of interest for educators, ensuring more meaningful and impactful growth. We're really excited to see that. Professional learning has also been strengthened through professional learning communities that have been further developed, providing ongoing collaborative support for educators, and additional resources are now available for international teachers to help them acclimate and excel in the district. A highlight of the induction efforts is also the New Educators Institute for the fall season, a multi-day district-wide orientation and professional learning experience for newly hired educators. This year, the Institute supported 510 educators and, from 117 schools, helping them transition smoothly into the district and providing foundational professional learning. Thank you. That is my report for today.
Thank you, Commissioner Slater Harrington. Appreciate that. Are there any questions for the Teaching and Learning Committee Chair? Thank you, Commissioner. Based on public comments, are there any items that board members would like to pull from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Mohammed. Any on readiness? All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Ames Messenger,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito,
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed,
Yes.
Dr. Redding Lallinger,
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks,
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington.
Yes.
I'm also in favor. That motion passes unanimously with the members who are present. We're now moving into item 10.01, the Minority and Women Business Enterprise Program, MWBE, an update.
Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Sibin. I'm the Chief Legal Officer here, and with my colleagues in the MWB program who should introduce themselves. Mike?
Michael Smith. Again, Michael Smith, Minority Business Enterprise Consultant.
Hi, Quinel Gomez, Director of Fair Practices and Compliance.
Gary Atkinson, Compliance Analyst.
Hi, everyone. Good evening, distinguished members of the board. As I said, my name is Quinel Gomez, and I will be presenting on the Minority and Women Business Enterprise Program update for you. If we can go on to the next slide. So the MWBE is not just about contracts. It also directly relates to the board priorities 3 and 4. And so it also supports all 7 priorities of the board. Next slide. All right, and so our mission is clear in the MWBE program. We are committed to encouraging equitable participation by minority and women-owned businesses. And that commitment aligns with both the state and the city goals. And it also aligns with our board policy, DGA and ADA. And that ensures that we are providing access and economic opportunities within communities represented by our students of color. So why are MWBE programs important? And I think it's essential because it fosters economic development. It promotes workforce opportunities, encourages entrepreneurship, and that allows communities, especially local economies, to build wealth and have access to procurement opportunities that we know are not necessarily always accessible. And especially within the communities, like I said, that are representative of our student body. Next slide. All right, and so the disparity studies are really the legal foundation for the MWBE program, and that allows us to see how it underscores the need for more affirmative intervention, right? And here it tells us that we really need these programs because without these programs, we would not have these we would not have equitable access at all to these procurement contracts that, like I said, really are not available. And it's extremely important and critical that we continue to support these programs and support the efforts in order to level the playing field. Next slide. All right, and this is just an overview of the state-funded roles. So we can go on to the next slide. All right, and so this shows sort of, in my opinion, well, the number of certified MWBE contractors and subcontractors that we have. And if we look at the state-funded projects, there has been an increase, right? We went from 6 to 9, and this number tends to fluctuate. So we're continuing to take a look at those numbers, and I do think that it shows that the program is successful as the numbers continue to increase. Next slide. All right, so for each project, the MWBE has specific goals that we need to meet, and they are related to the data that's available, but also the information obtained, like other factors such as information obtained from other city agencies, which allows us to really assess like what is really possible for the contractors that come in. Next slide. So while we aim to really meet these goals, sometimes it is necessary, or there are occasions where it's necessary or may be necessary for waivers to be granted. And those waivers are, depend on ensuring that the contractors make a good faith effort in order to pursue MWBE participation. But really the long-term goal here is that we decrease the number of waivers that we approve so that there are more opportunities for MWBE participation. There are cases where there are exemptions, but I just want to note here that those exemptions are not necessarily automatic. We are reviewing those carefully to make sure that it's not just an automatic process and under all of the administrative regulations, DJA. Next slide. All right, and there are a number of compliance responsibilities that we have under MWBE. It can range anywhere from goal review setting, compliance verification, data tracking, and just a host of things that we make sure to stay in compliance as we do this work. Next slide. Right, and there are some remedies for non-compliance, and the goal here is really to have an enforceable way of having these things like that we are in compliance. And so some of these things that we can do is contract suspension, withholding of funding, contract rescission. We can refuse to accept the bid or liquidate damages. So there are a number of remedies available to us, but we really want to make sure that everyone remains in compliance, and that's why it's so important from the previous slide that we have all of those checks in place. All right, so I'm going to pass it over to Chief Steven. So we'll talk a little bit about the program data, and then we'll go ahead and I'll come back and discuss the outreach work that we've been doing in the program.
So if you go to the next slide, this data is in detail in the presentation. So I just want to highlight pieces here. So this slide shows the overall percentage of MWBEs for the two buckets of contracts, that's state-funded contract, which is mostly construction, and then all other city schools funded contracts. You see the dollar amounts and also the percentage, as well as the number of awarded contracts, and then you see broken down by the different subgroups. I think that you'll see, and I think the top line here, which is really important, is as our contracting has increased significantly, particularly with the ESSER-related federal recovery contracts, we've kept to and often exceeded our goals. And that's through the really hard work of our team, but really in collaboration with our other offices, with procurement, with construction, and really following the board's mandate to not only have this program, but make sure it lives. So going to the next slide. This breaks into detail the state-funded contracts and shows both primes and subcontractors. So, and that's important to think about access for certified MWBs as the overall lead contractor on something, as well as subcontractors as well. Go on to the next slide. This shows the other funded programs, and you show the real increase in terms of ESSER in this money. Next slide. We also measure achievement of our goals. So the overall goal for city-funded programs is 27%, and we've achieved 28%, so slightly above that of overall contract dollars. And then next slide. This shows the 5-year trend, and I want to stop here in particular to just look at the point I made about the overall volume of contracts going up. You look from FY20 or even FY21 and then down to the total contract dollars that the district is expending here. You see it increase just top line from $120 million to $601 million. And you show also both on the city side and state side some fluctuation, but strong numbers in terms of goals. And then you see fluctuation also in terms of breaking down for African American, Hispanic, Asian American, and women-owned businesses, and making sure really that we successfully as a district have made sure that our minority and women-owned businesses have gotten a strong share of the recovery money. There was some worry that a program like this would be swept aside in the rush, but what we did was we were committed and we achieved here through our hard work. Next slide. This also shows, and I think this is important because we've emphasized this from year to year, is Quinnell mentioned that companies can, procurements can get waivers from even setting goals, or exemptions really from setting goals. And one of the things we do really well when we set goals, but we don't set goals on all projects. So one of the pushes that we've made in recent years is to extend the percentage of our overall contract dollars that have goals set. And you'll see here, even compared from SY23 to 24, we're setting goals on a higher percentage of our contracts overall. So the value of contracts not receiving MWB goals has dramatically decreased, which is a good thing. That's the right direction. That's where we want to go. Next slide. We did, just as a note, exclude healthcare benefits from this analysis. Healthcare benefits sort of are a pass-through type contract, but even though we made significant strides in this by setting goals on the administrative portion of these contracts, which is 37% participation, so that's really an innovative piece in this work as well. Next slide. This shows benchmarking. So you remember the numbers that we put up in terms of 42%, I believe, and 29% versus participation at the city level and at the Maryland Stadium Authority. So we're keeping pace with the Stadium Authority and exceeding the city in terms of participation. Next slide. And this shows the massive amount of work that goes into this. So goal settings, bid responses, pay recs, we have to review each set of these papers. It often takes multiple go rounds and patience to do that. But that volume of work is what is the less glamorous side of this work. And this team gets it done day in, day out, often late at night, right, Mike? That we keep this through. Next slide. I think this is back to you, Kuna.
Just want to highlight some of the accomplishments and next steps that we have. If we go on to the next slide, we're going to see that we have been increasing our engagement and outreach. So that means, and this year, FY24, we attended 6 community outreach events, including the City of Baltimore Procurement Conference, which we thought was really successful. And here we have our team members, Kai Davis, who is our new MWBE outreach specialist. So he'll be doing a lot more work now that we have someone that's dedicated to that particular goal. So he is attending the events now, just transitioned in, and then Mike has been going, and he's going tomorrow. We hosted introduction meetings with MWBE prime contractors and facility design, and then we presented the MWBE program at pre-bid meetings. All right, and so going forward, we hope to design and we will design and develop strategic engagement and outreach plan. And that would be something, like we said, is so important to have and so critical to have the engagement and outreach, because part of that is allowing us to reduce the amount of waivers that are had, because we need to, vendors and contractors need to know that these events are happening and that this program is available to them. And so we want to be able to develop a pipeline of quality small businesses who are invested in the growth and of Baltimore City, but also those local communities that we mentioned. And we also want to have technical assistance to MWBEs, including support using city school platforms for procurement payment and compliance processes. Other accomplishments is that we've had an enhanced MWBE weekly workflow tracker. That has been a challenge because we did not have someone that was occupying those space. And you heard a little bit about how much work that goes into this. So now we've been able to really have track these things weekly, what's coming in, the contracts that we're getting, and how quickly we're getting those out. Then there are ESSER projects review, implementing new goal setting opportunities, such as instructional materials, community schools, lead agencies. There are other new areas that we've participated in, such as the school bus and passenger van transportation. Right, so here are some future programmatic enhancements. I just want to highlight that it's really looking at other best practices with other school systems and what can we learn from that to enhance our own program, increasing our collaboration with other public agencies such as the City of Baltimore, Maryland, Department of Transportation, review exemption and waiver protocols, including piggybacking and recovery-related procurements. And then we also want to make sure we identify and address potential barriers for MWBE vendors. That's a big one, because there are many barriers. And some examples are insurance, bonding, bidding, and prompt payment. So we want to figure out how we can really get and overcome those barriers so that we have more participation and more contractors. And staff members shadow and cross-train with internal units. Next slide. Right, and that concludes our update and presentation. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I want to recognize the work that you've put in from last year to this year, that the growth is seen. I think you highlighting some of the barriers is really important to me. Highlighted bonding. Bonding is what blocks some of our MBEs. And of course, prompt payment. That's a challenge when we're talking about MBEs who may not have the capital to cover over a period of time that it takes for us to get money out the door. So it's really important when we talk about this work, we look at how quickly we're getting money out the door. With that, a question that I would love to ask, but I do not want it answered now because I really want you to take the time to really see what's the impact of doing this. It's looking at unbundling some of our contracts. Because when we unbundle, we give a fair opportunity for some of those subcontractors that we are using to become prime contractors. And when they become prime contractors, similar to those prime contractors that we use, we've been using them over a period of time. And that time has given them some advantage. They're used to dealing with our systems. So if we can look at the impact of unbundling and where we can unbundle, that would be extremely beneficial. I believe in growing the opportunity, not just for those vendors that can be MBE primes, but also bringing in new MBE vendors as well.
Thanks. We will definitely look at that. And I just wanted to call out as a partial, tiny answer, not the full answer, and give credit to Chief Washington, who wasn't here. I don't see her, but in terms of the on-call contracts, because those contracts often are smaller amounts, so making sure that we have MWBE participation on our on-call contracts becomes really important for the benefits there too, and thinking about ways to increase on all fronts. We agree entirely, and we'll next year figure out a way to talk about progress in that front as well.
I appreciate the response. And again, just want to highlight, I know this work is hard work and you need partners, and hope to continue to be able to partner in this work, because the work that you're doing with getting outside, making sure that we're talking to people and we're taking advantage of those opportunities to be in front of vendors is really going to help. So I thank you for sure that was mentioned as well.
Thank you for this work. My question relates to the process through which individuals may start to respond, but then not complete a submission for a bid. Do we have the ability to track and understand how many vendors may start that process but don't finish it, and some of the barriers that they're facing in that process?
We can look into that and see whether we have that capacity. I think that also thinking, and as we think about what we can do, paying attention to those numbers on increased numbers of certified businesses that can participate and reducing barriers even in the certification time. We are reliant upon the state and the city to certify. So we've been working and trying to help vendors who would qualify get certified for these programs so they can participate. So that was just one way that comes to mind about entities that would like to participate but turn out not to be certified as MWBEs. So that work can be a continued effort to track that type of data.
Any additional thoughts or questions? Thank you to the team for the presentation, the update tonight, and your work. Thank you much. We're now going to move into item 10.02, policy DIC, fiscal management. This is the first reader. And for context, I'm sure it will be provided to us tonight. Many of the updates that we'll receive in this particular presentation are the continuation of updates in law and conversion from board rules to board policy. Marianne, it is great to see you this evening.
Nice to see you. Thank you. Good evening to everyone. I'm Marianne Cox. I'm the Deputy Chief Financial Officer for City Schools, and I'm here to present updates to Board Policy DIC, which is financial controls, and now 2 administrative regulations that are associated with DIC, Administrative Reg RA and Administrative Reg RB. So I welcome an opportunity to discuss our financial controls with everyone. We understand that there's a prevailing interest in safeguarding the city schools assets. So we address our remarks to, our chair, the vice chair, all the commissioners, the CEO and her cabinet, city school staff members, and our community partners. We all very much have an interest in how city schools safeguards the assets, particularly cash, where we are safeguarding them for students. Next slide. These are the board's strategic priorities. Policy DIC revisions relate most directly to priority 3. City schools will have high quality, modernized facilities and resources that support the success of students, educators, administrators, and staff. Next slide. We want to talk about the primary purpose of these revisions to the board DIC and the administrative regs. This was done at board request. The board had requested that all of the board rules be examined and be brought into existing policies when appropriate. So we effectively cut and pasted our board rule into board policy DIC, the administrative regs DICRA, and we created a new administrative reg DICRB. I want to stress this is administratively driven, and the same criteria for financial control apply whether it's a board or policy. Nothing changed. Slide. I do want to point out that the Office of Finance collaborated with the Office of Legal Counsel to make sure that our revisions are fully in compliance with recent updates to applicable law accounting standards. Most of our board provisions are mandated by these requirements. They include such things as state laws, local laws, generally accepted accounting principles, and governmental accounting standard board statement. We also have incorporated best practices as recommended by the Government Finance Officers Associations, or GFOA, and the Association of School Business Officers, which is ASBO. So we also have best practices incorporated in that. The board rules to incorporate into either the board policy or the administrative regs break out as follows. We have a total of 34 board rules to be incorporated, and one board rule itself, 303.08, became its own administrative reg. That relates to petty cash funds. Petty cash funds are not to be merged with school activity funds in any way. It's when another school or a department asks for approval to have their own petty cash fund for making very small expenditures, you know, office supplies, postage, things like that. But actually the rule of what they may not use the petty cash funds on is longer than what they may use them on, but they are definitely not school activity funds. We have the other 33 board rules that are converted, and those were cut and pasted into our board policy DIC and our board policy DIC administrative reg DICRA. So you can see that they deal with investments, our annual audit, and our capitalization requirements. Okay, again, category 1. This is the only one that came over in its entirety as a separate administrative reg. Again, this is petty cash. We are offering it as an option to the schools, but like anything related to cash, there are a lot of requirements associated with it. Next one is a category 2, rules about investments. This spells out a lot of the rules about what we're allowed to do or not allowed to do. I do want to emphasize that preservation of capital is the first priority for our investment criteria. As a general, as go the T-bill rates, so go our investment income. So we all are aware that the T-bill rates had been at a historical high in excess of 5% for a period close to a year, which no one had expected. So that produced much more investment income for city schools, as any other entity who invested in T-bills saw that, you know, that rate for relatively risk-free or extremely low risk investment opportunities drew a lot of cash. So our investment income in FY 2024, I just want to show you the variance, was $40.2 million compared to $19.4 million in 2023. $1.1 million in 2022 and 24,000 in 2021. Please remember, 2021 was the year that the T-bill rate was close to zero and in some cases approached negative. So I just wanted to point out that the variability in our investment income is beyond city schools' control and is controlled by external market conditions. I wanted to talk about the specifics of the board rules about investments. Please remember that this slide and the next slide list out the 24 board rules that have become incorporated into board policy DIC or board policy DIC administrative reg RA. You can see the types of criteria that are mentioned in here. The scope are investment objectives, which again, preservation of capital is the first. Who we delegate such authority to, our investment procedures and practices. We have limitations on how much of our investments can be in a certain low risk or relatively no risk type of investment. We have limitations on the suitability of the investments we make. We also have liquid investment requirements. So it's very much, we are pretty limited in what we may do. So as goes the T-bill rate, so go our investment income. I do want to point out that in accordance with this criteria of preserving capital, we also have our assets collateralized up to 102% of the investment amount by a third-party entity. So that's a requirement in all of our investment and banking contracts. So that is done for us so that we are not at any risk to preserve capital above the FDIC limits. Category 3, the board rule about the annual audit. The audit they're referring to here is the annual audit of basic financial statements. It's done each year for our fiscal year ending June 30th each year, and per COMAR, the financial statements must be submitted to MSDE no later than 9/30 each year, which was done again this year. So in addition to the requirements for an independent certified accountant to audit our firms, they also review the audit programs used by our internal auditors. So those also get a review. So in addition to we have criteria set for requirements in this board rule now to be a board policy. We also comply with other local and state requirements. Okay, category 4, board rules about asset capitalization. These 8 board rules will tell you all you want to know about how we capitalize and how we determine what should be capitalized, what should be inventory. Generally, we capitalize everything with a per unit cost of more than $5,000 per unit and whose useful life is greater than 1 year. We do want to point out that city schools does not capitalize or hold in our assets those assets that are titled in the name of the mayor and the city of Baltimore. So those would be the assets that were given to city schools or transferred to city schools at the time of the split, but the mayor and city council had paid for them. The majority of city schools' assets to be capitalized relate to our capital improvements that we make on our buildings, most of which flow through our capital projects fund. So if we go through the board rules, the 8 board rules that relate to category 4, you can see that talks about why we capitalize, what it applies to, what our thresholds are, how we develop our asset classes and useful life, those kind of things. We also have an averaging convention and a grouping convention, so it's a lot of accounting type detail, but I will say that is involved with, we comply with those asset the classes that are put out by the federal government. We also comply with best practices as suggested by ASBO and GFOA. Next slide. I wanted to talk about stakeholder engagement on financial controls, the changes, which are really just taking the board rules and putting them into board policy and board administrative regs. This is considered tier 1 because of the type of change it was. These changes have been posted on the city schools website for public feedback. And we have shared draft revisions with key stakeholders for written feedback. These would include the City of Baltimore Finance Office, the City Schools Equity Advisory Committee, the Charter and Operator-Led Schools Advisory Board, PCAB, CCAC, the Associated Student Congress of Baltimore City, the school operators, and labor unions. I do want to point out that no substantive feedback has been received thus far. Next slide. I just wanted to point out that this is the first reader today, October 8th, 2024, and second reader is scheduled for November 12th, 2024. So that would conclude my presentation. So are there any questions?
Thank you, Mary Ann. I see your hand, Commissioner Coy. Just for the awareness of the ever-evolving Board of School Commissioners, Allison can also, Chief Perkins Cohen, illuminate some of where we are with the conversion of board rules into board policies. It's been a pretty extensive process over several years, even with the reestablishment of the policy committee. That committee was not an operable committee for quite some time. And so in conjunction with the direction of our legal office, our senior staff, in addition to the recreation of, or the reestablishment of the policy committee, we're now in different phases and tiers of what is being converted from rules into now policies that govern our school system. And so seeing so many rules represented now in this one policy, I think that has taken a significant amount of work to do. So just want to say to our staff that's been engaged in this work, thank you for that, because we become better as governors because of that work. So I just want to highlight that. Commissioner Coy.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And this is more of a comment than a question. I want to commend you all for the work that's represented in here. And similar to the four wheels on a car, you don't think much about them unless something's wrong with them. And you sure hope you pay attention to them when you're, so they're there when you need them. And I think in the large school system, or a small one for that matter, the type of work that is represented here is non-trivial, and is something that is easy to assume is just being done, but takes a lot of work and a lot of paying attention to the details, and the number of clean audits in a row and on all of the work just cannot be over appreciated. So thank you for that work and for what this represents.
Thank you. And with that, in addition to our external audit work, Mary Ann, in our internal audit work, we need language added, whether it is in RB, the regulation, or in DIC, to specify. This goes into the implementation of the petty cash handling. If we can specify language to incorporate within the implementation and perhaps in the reporting out back, just more specific language. If it is in the DIC policy where it is implementation. I see with Roman numeral 2, letter F, petty cash, it says the Office of Finance will establish guidelines. Maybe we can incorporate some more specific language there that speaks to the training that happens for school-based staff around petty cash handling and the parameters around that, or it could be in the regulation RB, whichever you all deem is most appropriate. But specifying that is helpful for us, and especially in our internal audit work. Commissioner Coy.
Well, and maybe adding to that, I do think, and Marianne, you referenced this, this policy here is not specific to the school activity accounts, activity funds. And I do know there are some changes that are contemplated and are happening as to how those are administered. But I think that, it's important just to distinguish that those are also receiving attention in a way.
Thank you. Any additional thoughts? Thank you, Marianne, and thank you to the finance and the legal team, everyone who's done work in this conversion and also in this update. The Operations Committee will meet on Tuesday, October 15th at 10:30 a.m. The Policy Committee will meet that same day at 4:00 p.m. The Safety and Wholeness Committee will meet on October 17th at 4:00 p.m. The board will meet again in executive session on Tuesday, October 22nd at 3:30 p.m. And then there will be a full public board meeting that same day at 5:30 p.m. For the public's awareness, we do have several board members who are participating in the Maryland Association of Boards of Education annual conference this week. So thank you all for representing city schools very well. And that's why you see some members who are present, you see some who are virtual, some who have actually traveled back from Annapolis to be here. That shows commitment and dedication. So thank you all for your service to city schools and to all of our stakeholders. Thank you all for what you do each and every day in the lives of our young people and in the lives of our city. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Commissioner Rooks.
Thank you, Commissioner Rooks. Is there a second?
Second, Esposito.
Thank you, Commissioner Esposito. Is there any unreadiness? Hearing none, I will do a roll call for the sake of folks who are virtual. All in favor, Vice Chair Roberts. I see her trying to come back in. Commissioner Ames Messenger,
Yes.
Commissioner Coy,
Yes.
Commissioner Esposito.
Yes.
Commissioner Kenyatta Bay,
Yes.
Commissioner Mohammed,
Yes.
Dr. Redding Wallinger.
Yes.
Commissioner Rooks.
Yes.
Commissioner Slater Harrington,
Yes.
Vice Chair Roberts.
Yes.
Thank you. And I am in favor. That motion passes unanimously with the members who are present. Have a great evening, everyone. Be safe, be careful, and we will see you next time.
Where should we go?